of protective equipment that we will install once the side hatch is open. That will help protect the edges of the side hatch, help protect the seal, and also help protect the spacesuits and the crew members as they egress from the capsule. Now, the crew will keep their helmets on, but they will flip their visors up.
Side hatch opening in progress. Second.
All right, so we got the all clear from those safety checks, and we can see now that the crew has untorqued the side hatch. We see that being lifted. We can see that protective piece being put in place. Once again, nominal procedure is for each crew member to be assisted as they egress from the capsule.
And we'll also see those footrests be removed as well once we get a little further in this procedure, once they get that protective cover installed. That just helps give a little more room as they help to bring the crew members out.
Yeah. As you can see, even folks that haven't spent 8 months in space need assistance getting out of the capsule.
Yes, and again, you will see the crew be assisted out of the spacecraft and have some folks around them. This is common for all of our landings, as well as for the Soyuz. If you've ever watched one of our broadcasts on that, we do assist the crew as they come out of any spacecraft following their space flight.
We can see the onboard photographer getting some snapshots. I have a feeling there may have been 4 thumbs up there inside the capsule at one point. Or maybe there will be now. This is also a great view. We can really see the details in the thermal protection system and that evidence of re-entry. So as we mentioned before, the exterior of the capsule at liftoff and while the capsule was on orbit was a nice white, and we can now see that discoloration reflecting the patterns of heat that the capsule experienced during re-entry. As we mentioned, the exterior temperatures can reach up to 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit as that plasma builds up. So I always love seeing how the Dragon capsules change identity essentially as they come back and kind of have their own unique fingerprint or TPS print, if you will, thermal protection system.
And we were talking about the other recovery vessel, Megan, and it turns out that Shannon Walker is actually on the recovery vessel as well, helping to assist with this, as well as NASA astronaut Eric Bowe. So
that's awesome. And she's the astronaut that the other vessel is named after.
Yep.
So we can see the recovery team continuing to place the assistive and protective pieces around the capsule. Like Sandra mentioned, we'll see those footrests come out. That helps provide a little bit more moving space for the team to assist the astronauts as they egress. And we'll probably see a wheeled mobility aid come into view here as well for each crew member.
So if you are just joining us this evening, Crew-8 has splashed down off the coast of Pensacola, Florida at 12:29 a.m., ending their 235 days in space. They have been successfully recovered from the water and hoisted up onto the recovery vessel Megan, and they are now working to get removed from the side hatch there that you see on your screen, which is now open. We have recovery personnel that are partially inside the capsule now, just doing a quick check-in with the crew before their extraction. Again, you do start to see some of that recovery equipment being wheeled off to the side there. That is completely normal and expected. We do this for all of our returning crew members after their space flight, so you will see them be assisted onto that before they are wheeled away to do some additional medical checks before boarding a helicopter and flying back to Houston, rather back to the coast of Florida before they fly on a NASA plane to Houston to be reunited with their loved ones at Ellington Field.
Something I want to point out while we have this particular camera angle, we can see the window, the crew window there, kind of frosted over due to the effects of that high heating during re-entry. That is the side where Jeanette Epps is seated. Now, above that window, you see basically looks like this circular hole, and that is actually one of two bays, if you will, where the drogues are fitted into. So there's one on each side, as there are two drogue parachutes. And you can also see around the side of the hatch where the lines that connect the drogue parachutes to the main parachutes, you can see how those run around the edge of the side hatch as well. So kind of a cool view to show some of the re-entry systems, or excuse me, the re-entry and splashdown systems used for our astronaut return.
And it looks like we are starting to see the first crew member be extracted. I'm not sure if that will be Commander Matt Dominic or Mike Barrett, but it is typically one of those middle seats because they're easiest to reach. So again, you do see that crew member getting some assistance. I can't quite tell who it is just yet.
I can only imagine what it feels like to have to stand up after spending nearly 8 months in space and having to stand up for the first time with Earth's gravity.
And that is NASA astronaut Matt Dominic, who is now out of the spacecraft. His very first space flight. Looks like we're getting some handshakes there.
High fives all around. For those that have just recently joined us, you can see that the Dragon capsule carrying our Crew-8 members has successfully splashed down and been recovered from the splashdown site off the coast of Pensacola, Florida. We have just seen the egress or exit of Commander Matt Dominic, who was seated in one of the two center seats. We can see, so we're standing by for the egress of the other three crew members. And on your screen there, some of the recovery team and NASA folks there assisting with the egress. As we mentioned, we, just standard protocol, we always help individuals coming back from long duration spaceflight. We always help them, give them some assistance back to the medical base. So I can only imagine that it feels like 100 elephants standing on your shoulders as you have to stand up. This particular mission was in space for 235 days, 232 of them on station. And this ended up being the longest duration mission that Crew Dragon has ever performed. So kind of a cool first there.
And the longest U.S. spacecraft flight ever, whether that was through the shuttle program, Apollo, Mercury, Gemini. So that's a fun fact. And so it looks like they're working now to extract the next crew member. So we'll stand by to see who it is, but I do expect that it would be NASA astronaut Mike Barrett, but we'll confirm that just momentarily.
In addition to the individuals standing around the outside, there's also a recovery team member inside the capsule assisting with the egress.
And that is NASA astronaut Mike Barrett. This is he is the veteran on this space flight. The other 3 flyers on board Crew-8 were all rookies. And so in total, Mike Barrett has spent 447 days in space.
Saw some excitement there.
Yes. So remaining inside Endeavour is NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps, as well as Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gurbankin. So we'll see who comes out next. You do see those footrests as they are removed from the spacecraft to give a little more space for recovery personnel to assist the crew members out.
I think it looks like we might be getting Jeanette Epps next. So they're continuing to work to get the next crew member out, and you can really see there's quite a few folks on the recovery vessel. It just really speaks to all those that are involved with helping to make a mission successful. It's the recovery boat personnel, the folks in Mission Control Hawthorne and in Houston, as well as all around the world, those that support the International Space Station. It really is a huge team effort to have a successful mission like this. And in fact, there's 44 people on the recovery vessel, Megan, to help support tonight's splashdown. Once again, we're standing by for the egress of our final 2 crew members. Yeah, it looks like NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps will be the next one to exit. Due to the limited space inside Dragon capsule, it's pretty normal to have the 2 individuals seated in the center seats, so the pilot and commander. It's pretty normal to have them egress first, as it helps give a little bit more working room there within the capsule for the crew members and the recovery team members.
And I do believe that is NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps who is next out. Yep, Jeanette Epps was the next one out, so Alexander Gurbankin will be next. Again, this was her first space flight. Some quick waves.
Round of applause.
And we are starting to see Alexander Gurbankin be extracted from the spacecraft as well. Some thumbs up. And we now have all 4 crew members outside of Crew Dragon Endeavour following their 235 days in space. Some cheers and excitement for Crew-8. That's great to see.
Checking to make sure they didn't leave anybody inside. No aliens as stowaways inside Dragon Endeavour.
Well, now that Matt, Mike, Jeanette, and Alexander are safely back home on Earth and getting checked out by the NASA medical team, we're going to wrap up our live coverage of their return. Now, this all kicked off on March 4th, 2024 from historic Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. After a successful liftoff and separation from Falcon 9, Matt, Mike, Jeanette, and Alexander made a 29-hour flight on board Dragon to the International Space Station. Since arriving at the space station, they spent nearly 8 months as members of Expedition 71 and 72, where they executed science experiments, spacewalk, and repairs while aboard the orbiting laboratory.
Their journey home began about 34 hours ago on October 23rd when they closed the hatch to Dragon and undocked from the space station at 2:05 p.m. Pacific time. After 4 successful departure burns.
Hard to believe that was almost 8 months ago.
Yeah, time does fly. So this is a cool view here. I believe this is a drone shot that we have, and you can really get a sense of distance between the recovery vessel and the Dragon capsule and the speed at which the recovery vessel approaches Dragon. It is slow and steady, carefully choreographed, as pretty much everything in space flight is. And we can see the recovery team in the fast boat still working to prepare Dragon Endeavour to be lifted out of the water. We heard during the we heard in the post-deorbit burn debrief that the weather was really good. We can see that here live on screen. The wave height predicted was 0.6, so really mild. We can see almost a glass-like surface there on the water, and only a wind speed of only 3 knots. So overall, a beautiful evening for a Dragon to splash down.
And we are getting some good visuals there of the helicopter pad on top of the recovery vessel Megan there. You can see the green lights of the helicopter pad. Once the crew is out of the spacecraft, they will depart back to the coast of Florida on board a helicopter before flying back to Houston and being reunited with their families at Ellington Field in Houston. So continuing to get those really great views there. It looks like the rigger is still on Dragon, if I'm seeing that correctly.
Yeah, they're standing in the bay where the main parachutes were housed prior to being deployed.
That's right, and it looks like that rigger this evening is Troy Werner, so we might get the opportunity to see him as he jumps off of the spacecraft, which is Kate's worst nightmare.
Yes. A moment I feel things for that individual when I see them perform that, and it's really admiration that they have the bravery to do that, especially at night. Now we can see him standing there in that bay where...
Dragon, SpaceX, comm check.
Loud and clear, House.
Loud and clear as well. Transition from audio from Tidris to Megan successful. Rigging has been complete. Approximately 5 minutes until capsule lift.
Copy, 5 to lift.
Great news there, just giving the crew an anticipated timeline for the remainder of the recovery preparations. That lift sequence will happen quite quickly, so be sure to not turn away. The Dragon capsule will be lifted up and out of the water using those hydraulic arms, or that lift that you can see there at the end of the recovery vessel on the left-hand side of your screen. It'll then be placed in the Dragon's nest, which will then be translated toward the forward end of the vessel. And that all happens really from the moment that the Dragon capsule is lifted out of the water, basically about a minute, if my memory serves me correctly from previous recent recovery operations, about a minute for the nest, for the Dragon to be out of the water in the nest, and the nest to be translated to the forward end where the egress platform is located. Now, once the Dragon capsule is there next to the egress platform, we will perform another set of safety checks to make sure that there are still no hypergolic vapors present on the exterior of the capsule. So we'll do another one of those before the team to open the side hatch. We can see the rigger there now atop the Dragon capsule. I wonder if they have the opportunity to kind of put their hand down there and wave. That is the side of the capsule where, oh, there they go, into the water.
Dragon, brace for capsule lift.
Dragon.
All right, lift now underway as we bring Dragon Endeavour out of the water